For 20 years, the gates to Quadrant 17 remained sealed. No one went in. No one came out. Rumors swirled through our outposts like dust in the air, about an alien woman left behind during the collapse of the Uxarian alliance. Untouched, unseen, untamed. And here I was, pressing my hand to the biometric scanner that everyone else had walked past in silence for 2 decades. Arlo, command's gonna fry you for this. My comm buzzed with Dez's nervous voice. That's a Class A restricted zone. Then I'll burn with answers, I whispered, eyes narrowing as the door let out a slow hiss, gears whining like the breath of a forgotten beast. No records existed of anyone ever being assigned to this sector after the treaty failed. It was like they'd erased it from memory intentionally. That made it even harder to resist. The air inside the facility was heavy, stale, with the scent of oxidized metal and something faintly floral. My boots echoed as I stepped deeper. The place wasn't just abandoned, it was preserved, like someone or something was still here. My scanner pinged, life form detected, proximity 30 meters. I froze, a heartbeat, mine, then another. Not mine. Arelia, I muttered, tasting the name on my tongue. I'd only seen her file once. No photo, just a name, buried in a classified intel breach I decrypted during a long night of insomnia and bad decisions. She was the last remaining Uxarian empath, a species once revered for their psychic resonance, capable of unraveling emotional signatures with a glance. During the war, that ability made them weapons. After the war, liabilities. And apparently she'd been locked away. My steps led me to a corridor lined with what looked like cryogenic cells, but only one emitted a faint pulse of light. As I approached, the mist cleared from the glass, revealing her. She wasn't sleeping. She was watching, eyes glowing faintly with a shimmer I couldn't place, silver irises, high cheekbones, skin like porcelain veined with soft blue lines that pulsed in rhythm with her breath. Not restrained, just waiting. You shouldn't be here, she said before I could speak. Her voice didn't echo. It landed in my chest. I've waited 20 years, I replied, barely able to keep my voice steady. You deserve more than silence. She tilted her head slightly, like the concept confused her. Men have come before, all turned away. Because they were told to, I said. I wasn't. You think you're different? She asked, stepping forward. The door to her chamber hissed and slid open without command. I flinched instinctively, but didn't retreat. Arlia walked like she remembered how to be dangerous, but had chosen not to be. Her movements were fluid, quiet, graceful. Her eyes never blinked. You crossed the line, she said softly, almost curiously. I had to know who you were, I answered. She reached out, fingers stopping just short of my chest. The space between us hummed, warm and static. You're not afraid? I should be. Why now? She asked, voice lower, eyes narrowing. Why after 20 years of abandonment? Because I wasn't here to stop it then. But I am now. She closed her eyes and for a moment the air shimmered, like heat rising off pavement. My thoughts raced, memories, fears, hopes, all flashing like lightning behind my eyes. When she opened hers again, they were wet with some emotion I couldn't name. You're not lying, she whispered. You feel different. Then she turned away, walking slowly back toward her chamber, but not inside. They told me touching another mind again would break me, she said over her shoulder, but you just lit a fire I can't put out. I stepped forward just once. You've been untouched for 20 years, Arelia, I said gently. I'm not here to claim you. I'm here to set you free. For the first time, her lips curved, not a full smile, but a crack in the glacier. I don't want freedom, Arlo, she said. I want something real, if you dare. She turned fully then, and the light in the chamber dimmed to a gentle glow, as if the facility itself responded to her awakening. As she walked past me, I felt the air bend. My heart pounded. Something had shifted. The line had been crossed, and whatever I had just awakened was only beginning. The door behind us sealed with a hiss, and I realized there was no going back. The corridor's ambient light adjusted as Arelia walked ahead of me, the luminescent veins beneath her skin flickering with each step like living circuitry. I hadn't spoken since she passed me, but my mind was alive with unspoken questions. She led me through a corridor that curved unnaturally, the walls breathing faintly. The architecture wasn't human. It was something older, organic, reactive. "You're thinking too loud," she said without turning. "Your thoughts are like glass shattering." I opened my mouth, but the moment my voice formed, she turned. "Don't apologize, just learn to quiet yourself. You're in my world now." We entered what seemed like a dome-shaped observatory. Its center was a glass-like platform hovering above an abyss that stretched into blackness. Arelia walked to the center and gestured for me to follow. I hesitated. My boots stopped at the platform's edge. She raised an eyebrow. "Still afraid?" "Cautious," I corrected. "I don't know how this place works." "It listens, just like I do," she said, sitting cross-legged on the platform. "Sit, or keep pacing like prey." I joined her, legs folded awkwardly. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was weighted, like her presence carried mass. "Do you want to know why they left me here?" she asked. "Yes," I said without hesitation. "Because I refused to burn." She turned to me slowly. "They wanted me to be a weapon, to tap into minds, control soldiers, shatter rebellions before they formed. I did once, then I stopped. And for that, I was no longer useful." "They couldn't kill you?" "They tried," she said, "but Uxarian minds are too tightly woven into the fabric of time. If I died, parts of your kind's emotional web would collapse. So they buried me alive." "This facility, it wasn't abandoned. It was a prison," I said. She nodded. "One I learned to master." The platform began to rise, revealing a hidden chamber below. I glimpsed curved monitors, suspended memory strands, and pulsating orbs hovering mid-air. "Is this all connected to you?" I asked. "It is me," she said. "This is my mind. You're inside it." I blinked. "You mean this isn't real?" "It's real enough, but not made of matter. It's shaped from thought, memory, intention." "And you let me in." "You stepped in. I didn't stop you." I stood slowly, walking past the edge of the dome, fingers grazing a floating orb. Images flickered inside, faces I didn't recognize, places that didn't exist anymore. "These memories, they're not all yours." "No," she said. "Some are yours. Some are those of men who came and left before you. I thought no one made it this far." "They didn't. But curiosity leaves shadows, fragments." She stood now, closer to me than before. "You're different because you didn't come to study me. You came to see me." "Why me, though?" I asked, voice low. "Why respond to me now?" Her hand rose, not touching, just hovering inches from my chest. "Because your mind doesn't want to control me. It wants to understand me. That hasn't happened in 20 years. Her fingers brushed the air, and I felt warmth on my skin. Not a touch, but something more intimate, a scan of my soul. "You don't know what you're awakening, Arlo. The empathic bond, it's not a choice. Once formed, it's irreversible." "What does it mean?" I asked. "If I bond to you, you'll feel every part of me. Joy, pain, memory, desire. No secrets, no lies. And if I refuse, then I close this place again, and no one ever opens it. Ever." I swallowed. "What if I fail you?" She looked away then, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "I've already failed myself, Arlo. I just don't want to die without trying again." The dome darkened slightly. The weight of her silence pressed on me. I didn't reach for her. I stepped closer and simply stood with her in the stillness. She turned slowly, as if testing whether I'd flinch. I didn't. "All right," she said. "Then let's see what we become." The lights shifted. The memory strands converged. The chamber pulsed with life. I didn't understand the rules of this place, but I knew one thing. I'd crossed the line. Now I was inside the storm, and it was no longer hers alone. When the bond formed, I didn't feel a sudden jolt or some blinding light. It was quieter than that, like a door opening inside my mind that I never knew existed. I felt her before I saw her. Arelia didn't move, but her presence stretched through the space like warmth spilling across frozen stone. I turned and she was already looking at me, not with her eyes, but through me, into me. You feel it now, she said. The thread. It's like standing in my own memory, but it's not mine, I whispered. It's you. And parts of you are bleeding into me. That's what it means to bond. No barriers. I stumbled back, not out of fear, but disorientation. I wasn't used to being seen without filters. Every secret, every scar, it was all there, exposed like a raw nerve. Why would anyone want this? I asked. Because trust doesn't survive in silence, she replied, and neither does love. Love. The word echoed strangely, as if the dome itself hesitated. I wasn't ready for that word, and yet I couldn't deny the pull it created. This place, I said, glancing around, it responds to you. Will it respond to me now too? Try, she said. I focused on the thought. A memory, something harmless. A snowfield from my childhood, the sound of my mother's laugh, the cold on my cheeks. Suddenly the floor shimmered beneath us, and a rush of white powder formed underfoot. Flakes danced in the artificial wind. Arelia watched it happen without surprise. You're already merging, she said. This is what the thread allows. Shared consciousness, shaping the world around us. She reached down and let the snow fall through her fingers. Your memories are warmer than mine. I looked at her. Then take what you need. Her head lifted slightly, a strange expression crossing her face. Somewhere between gratitude and disbelief. I've waited so long for someone to say that without asking for something in return. I'm not here to take. I'm here to stay. Her fingers brushed my wrist and I felt her pain surge like a current. Decades of isolation, betrayal, and worst of all, the echoing loneliness. I nearly fell. You see now why the others couldn't handle it, she said, steadying me. Most men don't want to feel what they cause. You're not a burden, I said through clenched teeth. You're a mirror. A silence followed that felt sacred. Then without warning, the chamber lights dimmed and alarms blinked red across the dome. Arelia's expression changed instantly. Someone's breached the perimeter. What? I stepped back as the snowfield dissolved into metal flooring. But how? No one knew I was coming. Someone followed your signal, she said. Probably a tracker embedded in your gear. You brought them here. I cursed under my breath. December. That idiot probably reported my entry. If they reach this room, they'll try to take me, she finished. Again. Over my dead body, I growled. No, Arlo, she said, stepping forward. Over mine. They want me, not you. Then they're going to find out what happens when you cage fire. She almost smiled at that. I don't want to run anymore. Good, because I'm not running either. I turned toward the exit, ready to barricade whatever entrance they were coming through. But Arelia raised her hand. Let me show you something first. She led me to a hidden corridor behind the memory strands. It was narrow and dark, pulsing faintly with green light. At the end stood a crystalline orb encased in black stone. What is this? I asked. My anchor. The last piece of Uxarian resonance uncorrupted. If they take me, they'll use this to amplify control across systems. They'll start another war. Then we destroy it. She shook her head. If I destroy it, I lose the last tether to my species. I'll forget who I was. And if I destroy it? I asked. She looked at me, eyes searching. You'll become part of me permanently. No going back. Ever. Outside, the pounding of boots echoed down the hall. The intruders were close. Too close. Choose now, she said, breath shallow. I looked at the orb, then at her, and I knew. I slammed my hand against the orb. Light exploded, blinding white. Pain ripped through my skull like a blade. My memories fractured. Her memories surged. Our minds collided. And in that moment, I became something more than human. I became hers. The light faded slowly. My knees hit the floor, and the world around me swam like I was underwater. Every sound was muffled. Every breath felt foreign. I tried to speak, but my voice got lost in a wave of static that buzzed inside my head. Arelia was on her knees too, her hand on her chest, eyes glowing brighter than before. Her veins shimmered with golden light now, not blue. You shouldn't have done that, she said, voice trembling. It wasn't meant for you. Then why does it feel like I've always belonged to it? I whispered, clutching my skull. To you? She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers reached out, touched my temple, and suddenly it was calm. The noise stopped. My vision sharpened. I could hear again. But more than that, I could hear her thoughts, her fear, her regret, her memory of watching stars collapse while she was locked in isolation, begging a system that no longer cared to release her. And within it all, I found one thing I didn't expect. Hope. "You absorbed too much," she whispered. "More than any human ever could. More than I've ever shared." "I told you," I said. "I'm not here to run." A crash echoed in the corridor. Boots, voices, shouts in languages I barely recognized. Military code. She stood and I followed, still reeling from the shift in my senses. I could feel the walls breathing, the pulse of this facility like a second heartbeat in my chest. The bond had deepened. I wasn't just connected to Arelia anymore. I was connected to everything she was tied to. "They're almost here," she said. "If they take you, they'll dissect your mind to get to me." "Then we make sure they don't," I replied, stepping toward the control node at the chamber's edge. "This place responds to memory, right? To thought?" "Yes," she said cautiously. "Then let me shape it." I focused. The corridor behind us shimmered, twisted, and shifted into a dead-end wall. The air bent around the illusion, turning the real into a false map. "They'll waste time," I said. "A few minutes, maybe." "Impressive," Arelia admitted, "but they're persistent." "So are we," I said. Another explosion shook the floor. They were using plasma charges now. "They'll breach the side entrance next," she said. "How do you know?" "Because I was trained to think like them." Her voice had gone cold. I saw it then. Beneath all the empathy, the compassion, there was something sharp in her, a blade forged in betrayal. "You were a commander," I said. "I was more," she answered. "I led the war on 7 fronts before I refused to kill anymore. They feared what I knew, what I could still become." I stared at her, at the power she kept hidden beneath her calm. "Then maybe it's time you became it again. One last time." She hesitated. "You'd stand beside me." "I crossed the line, Arelia. There's no going back for me either." Her gaze locked with mine. "Then prepare yourself." She reached out, and when our hands touched, the air ignited with energy. Not fire, not light, memory. I saw her battlefield, her rise, her fall. I became part of it, and she saw mine, my failures, my longing, my shame. The bond snapped fully into place. Our thoughts aligned, our movements synchronized. We weren't two anymore. We were one. A pulse of power radiated from us and spread through the facility like a wave. Lights bent. Steel trembled. The walls shifted to our will. The intruders breached the corridor. Weapons drawn. Faces masked. Uniforms dark. "Subject acquired. Prepare containment," one barked. But the hallway betrayed them. It folded into smoke, reformed into a loop. They ran forward only to find themselves back where they started. Confused. Disoriented. "They'll break through it eventually," I said. "Then we give them a reason to stop trying," she said. Arelia raised her hand, and the chamber's core began to rise, revealing the harmonic field emitter, the device that amplified her psychic range. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Sending a message," she said. The energy built around her, drawn from the memories we now shared. Her voice echoed not from her mouth, but from every surface in the chamber. "This is not your weapon. This is not your prison. This is mine, and I reclaim it." The soldiers screamed, dropped their weapons, some collapsing as their own fears overwhelmed them. Memories of loss, guilt, and buried trauma erupting all at once. She had turned the bond outward, reflected it into them. "That's enough," I said, touching her shoulder. "You don't need to become what they were." She lowered her hand. The silence returned. The soldiers lay still, unharmed but shattered inside. A warning, not a massacre. She looked at me, breathing hard. "You kept me human," she whispered. "No," I replied. "You reminded me what it means to fight for something that matters." Outside, the world waited, but we had changed it. Together. We didn't flee. We stood above the stunned soldiers, the air still thrumming with the residue of Arelia's release. They weren't dead, just broken open, unarmed and unfit for further harm. Arelia turned toward me, her golden-lit eyes dimming to a soft amber. "They'll send more," she said. "Stronger ones, immune to empathy." "Let them come," I said. "They won't find what they expect." But even as I said it, I felt the tremor in the threads that now bound us. Arelia stiffened, sensing it too. "Something's wrong," she murmured. "The bond, someone is pulling on it." My chest constricted. "Pulling how?" She placed both palms on the wall. "They've connected a psi siphon to the outer grid. They're trying to extract me remotely, through the bond. Through me," I realized. "They want access to your mind using mine as the tunnel." "Yes, and they're close to breaching it." I backed away, my skin crawling. It felt like my thoughts were no longer mine, like something foreign was knocking against my subconscious, testing the locks. "Tell me how to stop it." "We sever the outer links manually, from the memory nexus," she said. "But that means diving into your memories, all of them." I met her gaze. "Then come in." "You don't understand, Arlo. This won't be like before. I'll see it all. The parts you've buried, the things you won't even admit to yourself." "I'd rather be vulnerable than use," and I said, "Let's do it." She placed her forehead to mine. The room vanished. No transition. Just nothing, and then everything. We stood in a field of floating shards, each one a suspended fragment of my life. Childhood pain, first heartbreak, my brother's death, my father's fists, my own failures replayed in crystal clarity. Arelia moved through them, watching silently, not judging, just witnessing. I trembled. "I'm not proud of what you'll see. Pride isn't truth," she said, "and truth is all I need." Then she reached out and touched the brightest shard, a memory of my time in the Mars Border Patrol. A mission gone wrong. We thought we were clearing a rebel base. It was a refugee camp. The moment her fingers grazed the shard, it exploded around us, and we were inside it, watching my younger self barking orders, eyes cold. Then the fire, the screams, the realization that we'd killed innocents. Arelia didn't speak. She didn't need to. I fell to my knees. "That's who I was." She crouched beside me. "That's who they made you? But you came here. You crossed into my world. You saved me." "Why are they targeting this memory?" I asked. "Because it's your fracture," she said. "Your weakest point. If they control it, they control your bond." "So we seal it," I said. "How?" "We rewrite it," she whispered. "Together." I stood, trembling. "Show me how." She took my hand and walked through the burning tent toward my younger self. She placed her hand on his shoulder. "You know what this is, but now you carry the weight. And from that weight, you forge a vow." The flames dimmed. The screams faded. The memory shifted, not erased, but reshaped. The guilt remained, but with it came purpose, a reason. I blinked. We were back in the real chamber. My chest was heaving, my skin drenched. Arelia looked exhausted. "It worked," I said. "They lost access." "But they'll come again. They always do." "Then let's be ready." She led me to the central node again. "This place can't hold forever," she said. "But we can send something out, a signal, a truth." "You want to expose what they've done?" and I asked. "Not just to you, but to every Uxarian, every human, every being affected by this war?" "Yes," she said. "But I can't do it alone. I need you as an anchor." "You have me," I said. "Then hold on." She stepped into the core, her body wrapped in radiant strands of memory light. I linked my hands to the platform's edge, and as her power surged, I opened myself again. Not just to her, but to everyone. Our bond became a broadcast. The truth poured from us like a storm, memories layered over data, emotions encrypted into frequency, a mosaic of what we lived, who we were, what had been done, the pain, the lies, the beauty, all of it. I saw stars blink in response, distant minds connecting. We were no longer two rebels in a sealed dome. We were fire through the void, and this was only the beginning. The transmission rippled across the void, bouncing from one buried relay to another like a heartbeat refusing to stop. Arelia stood inside the core, her body suspended in golden strands, her consciousness fully open. No shields, no secrets. I kept the link grounded, pouring in my stability, my clarity, my humanity. She gave them the truth. I made sure they could bear it. One by one, the receivers lit up, first at the outer rim of Sector 9, then the former Uxarian colonies, and finally deep into the Terran central grid. The response wasn't silence, it was a roar. My comm, long dead, buzzed to life. Static, then a voice. This is Commander Vexa of the Independent Memory Tribunal. We've received your signal. Stand by. Arelia looked at me. They heard it. That fast? I asked. Truth doesn't wait when it's this loud, she said, stepping out of the core, visibly drained but triumphant. Then the room shook again. Not from her, but from the outside. They're breaching the outer hull, she said. Not soldiers, ships. I tapped into the memory thread, saw it through her perception. A battle cruiser, unauthorized, black-coated, no insignia. They came to erase everything, I said. Not to capture, to annihilate. Then we have one last decision to make, she said. Do we run? I hesitated, not because I feared the fight, but because I feared what she might sacrifice next. What happens if we stay? They'll fire orbital lances, turn this place into plasma. And if we flee, we might make it. But if the bond fractures in the escape, I lose the last of my kind. I stepped closer. What if we don't flee or fight? Her brow furrowed. What else is there? We give them what they fear most. We let the galaxy see them come for us. Live. Arelia tilted her head. Broadcast their war crime in real time? Exactly. That's suicidal, she said. That's revolutionary, I replied. But you'll need to trust me. I already do. We moved quickly, rewired the core's memory strands to intercept the battlecruiser's targeting systems, looped the internal comms, hijacked their visuals. By the time they locked onto our coordinates, we had already fed them what they didn't expect, a live feed looping through all known Allied channels. The countdown began. 10 seconds to impact. Arelia turned to me. If we die, this story lives. We won't die, I said. We'll evolve. The first lance fired. The chamber screamed. But it didn't shatter. Arelia raised her hand and redirected the kinetic wave through the bond itself. The memory strands glowed so brightly I had to shield my eyes. Her body flickered, half light, half form. They can't kill what's no longer physical, she said. You're phasing, I breathed. You're becoming memory. So are you, she said. Hold my hand. I reached, her fingers laced into mine, warm, but barely there. We stepped onto the broadcast platform as the second lance fired. Instead of impact, the screen filled with stars. We weren't there anymore. Not in the way they understood. We had become data, pure memory, conscious thought woven through the galaxy's psychic threads. The dome vaporized in a silent burst of white. The ground forces never found our bodies. The ship above received nothing but signal static and silence. But the galaxy burned with our message. Across colony screens, inside cockpit monitors, even in lockdown data vaults, our bond played like a prophecy. Arlo of Terra, Arelia of Uxar. The man who stepped across the line. The woman who waited untouched. The transmission seeded a rebellion not of weapons, but of remembrance. Uxarians hidden in the folds of space reactivated their networks. Humans disillusioned with the system turned off their blinders. And those who had silenced us? They fled into the dark, afraid of what memory could become. I don't know where we are now, not exactly, but I feel Arelia with me in every moment. Whenever I close my eyes, she's there, whispering through the folds of thought, laughing in echoes. Sometimes I glimpse her fully, standing in a snowfield I once imagined, now real again in the collective dream we built. We didn't survive in the way others do. We became something else, something rare, something permanent. We became the memory that refused to die. We became the line no one dared to cross, until I did, and I'd do it again.